Hello, my name is Tim, and I'm a Londoner based in Scandinavia and have been here for the last few years. And I would like to share with you my story about recharge. Um, so I've been running my business now for about 10 years, but back in sort of 2014, 2015, I was just thrashing myself with a crazy lifestyle, which involved international travel. At the time, I was living in London, had a base in Oslo, and I had a wife and a small young child, a newborn almost, that I would be coming home to while I was in between assignments and traveling. It was pretty unsustainable. I didn't know it at the time, but I felt like I was very important. I had my British Airways Gold Card and almost the air miles and sort of the sense of being an important global consultant. My ego, in other words, was sort of getting in the way, and it was pushing me and making me pretty sick. The signs were there. I was going to my doctors fairly regularly here in Oslo, and they were telling me, if you keep this up, you're going to actually have an issue. Of course, I thought I knew better, so while I kind of temporarily listened to their advice, I basically carried on traveling and with the same mindset, thinking that I was just invincible. And fast forward to about Christmas 2015, in fact, the 12th of December, I'll never forget it, was the day I finally had to admit I needed help. I'd hit the wall and I was in real trouble. And that was really, really scary. So I needed help, and I was very, very lucky that I got the help then I needed. It was a really frightening process, but it also taught me a lot. And number one, it taught me that you need help from the right people. And I was lucky because my wife's doctor at the time was a person who's pretty well known in Norway called Alden Misha. And he's a wonderful combination of a spiritualist, but yet a medical doctor, or alternative practitioner, I should say. And he said to me at the beginning, he took me on as a new patient at my wife's advice and said, look, Tim, uh, you know, the important thing is you actually need to start from the beginning. You need to sleep well, you need to eat well, and you need to rest well with the basics before you can think of doing anything. And I think for the first time in my life, if I'm being really honest, I really, really listened to some powerful advice. And I decided, I committed to actually starting to do that. So I literally learned how to sleep well, better. I learned how to eat better, and I learned how to rest better. And that's where the idea for the book came, because at the time I was in a co-coaching or peer coaching relationship with Matt, and we've known each other for many, many years. And I was sharing with him sort of my struggles, but also my thinking about how I got better. And that's where the idea, the battery model metaphor came up. And for me, I just thought there was an idea in how I could get better. I'm quite a creative type, so I tend to like to have visual analogies to work with, and that made me kind of get a bit more motivated about how I recharge myself. But it was very much a sort of personal quest to get better. I knew my personal life was in a bit of a mess. My wife wasn't feeling very supported, alone with a young child, and having a husband who was unfortunately out of action. Wasn't great. So I needed to really step up and take responsibility for my own well-being. And I did, and I shared my progress with Matt initially about research on sleep, research on diet, research on exercise, and he could see that I was getting energized by this. And it was then he sort of said to me, "Well, why don't you research this quite seriously? And wouldn't it be great if you found out sort of hacks and tips in those areas that could really work quickly?" And so I thought, okay, fine. So I looked at the research even more. And over time, what became a sort of a personal quest to get well, I realized there was a bigger idea in that. And sort of about 2015, 2016, I was sort of drinking my own Kool-Aid, researching my own well-being methods and sharing them with Matt. And then sort of the idea for the book came about in about sort of 2016-ish, sort of late 2016. And at the same time, while I was getting better, my personal world was about to be impacted. And unfortunately, around Halloween on the 2016 Halloween, my wife unfortunately got diagnosed with cancer. And we began a cancer journey together, which unfortunately culminated 2 years later, pretty much to the day. So Halloween 2018, she passed away. And my life was changed forever. I was also left with a young daughter. So I was a single parent here in Oslo, in a country I had kind of been visiting and spent some time in, but I was a bit of a passenger, to be honest, still a bit of a tourist. I didn't really speak the language then very well. I didn't really have much of a network here as well, so I felt really scared and really alone. And I would be sharing my my challenges with Matt on our calls, and it was then he said, "Tim, why don't you lean into the model? You know, you've put a lot of thinking into this, or we've put a lot of thinking into this. You know, this model can really help you through this time." And again, it was almost like a light bulb moment there where I just thought, "You're right." So I doubled down on all the practices, and I doubled down on the research as well. And I again got really motivated to sort of see myself almost like a personal quest to see if the model really worked. And I'm pleased to say it does. And it brought me through the most challenging time I can imagine. And it brought me through in a sort of very whole, powerful way that kept my sort of integrity and my well-being and my sort of wholeness intact. And I'm so pleased to say that that journey, while it was really challenging, really gave me faith that there's something in this model. And so it was then we thought, okay, let's take this really seriously now. Why don't we start trying this out with other people? So we started to coach it. We started to run other programs with other people too. And then we realized that actually this model works. So that personal quest has really turned into now a methodology, a holistic mindset, a holistic tool mindset that we want to share with people. And the results we see are astonishing. And that's why we really want to kind of share this as much as we can. So we are written the book. We're also developing podcasts to support this, and we'll be developing content over time as well. And you know, your support, your feedback is really welcome. We don't know where this journey is heading, but we do know we really want to build a community because everybody has either a burnout or a potential burnout story. This is a real issue in the world, and we don't see at the moment a holistic approach that really is effective, certainly within organizations. So we really want to help with that and really kind of make people understand that they can stay well, stay healthy, get energized with simple, followable hacks and practices and rituals that can really help them. So that's my why. It's a very personal why, but I'm very lucky to be joined by Matt too, who's wonderful. You can hear his story in his section as well. But I just wanted to share with you my journey and why I want to share Recharge with you. Thank you for listening.